Welcome to the Nevcast, where three bros talk business, art, justice, and the pursuit of Jesus.
Any day above ground is a good day.
Get ready to laugh, cry, and kiss 30 minutes goodbye with Peter Nevland,
Dave Nevland,
and Rashid.
Hello?
Hey, Rashid.
Hey, what's up? What's up, good brother?
Hey, man, we're back with the Nevcast. And today, Dave, we got a guest with us. Why don't you introduce our guest?
Alex Strauss.
Alex Strauss. She's a German girl from Nicaragua by way of Arcadia, California, South Central LA. Pretty fun stuff. And she's actually our camera production.
Yeah, I'm helping with camera and lighting today.
She's camera and lighting today,
Yes.
but we were talking about some stuff, cultural appropriation and things, and Alex had some really good thoughts about it. So we thought, well, hey, let's find out some more about Alex and let's talk about this because it's a pretty big deal. So what do you think about that, Rashi? Sound good to you?
Yeah, it sounds good, man.
What about you, Dave?
Yeah.
You down with that?
Totally down.
All right.
Down.
So here's what we're going to do. We decided what we're going to do. We're going to play this track because last time we talked about Psalm 72, and I wrote this piece about a little over 4 years ago, before the last presidential election, and it seems just as appropriate today. And then Dave had me come in the studio. I recorded it, and then he mixed this background track to it and stuff. So we're going to play it, and then we can talk about this whole topic of cultural appropriation because I think this gives us a good launch point. So y'all ready?
Ready.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm playing it. It's called "We Don't Need Another Human Revolution." When police shoot a man for the color of his skin, when rage shoots back and evil wins, when leaders can't make the violence end, we don't need another human revolution. When an election offers two poor choices, when the media drowns out all the wise voices, when innocents suffer while the world rejoices, we don't need another human revolution. We don't need another human revolution.
We don't need another human revolution.
We don't need another human revolution.
We don't need another human revolution.
When cynics mock every gleam of hope, when a royal wedding is a daytime soap, when men abuse women we were born to protect, we don't need another human revolution. When sex traffic victims don't shock us no more, when borders stay closed to the victims of war, when terrorists rule and truth is ignored, we don't need another human revolution. We don't need another human revolution.
We don't need another human revolution.
We don't need another human revolution.
We don't need another human revolution.
We don't need another human revolution.
We don't need another human revolution.
We don't need another human revolution.
We don't need another human revolution.
We need the Prince of Peace, born a helpless babe, the God of the universe who knows our pain. Kings traveled to bow in awe and love. Shepherds found dignity and trusted his word. He never lies. When he foretold his own death, he also said he would rise. Look at him, baby with vulnerable skin, radiating the power of God within. Every kingdom and philosophy will bow at his gaze. Even rebels and bandits find hope in his face. Every Hitler Inquisition, ethnic cleansing superstition, wiped clean, laid out flat, breaking evil's jealous back. Hell can't stop his love attack. The virgin birth, an empty tomb, and our lives are proof of that. When the Savior returns, ending all debate, we won't need another human revolution. When his love erases all memory of hate, we won't need another human revolution. When our beauty matches the radiance of his heart, we won't need another human revolution. When we welcome him in, our real life starts. We don't need another human revolution. We need Jesus, the Messiah. there we go. Thoughts, reactions,
Thoughts.
Rashi?
Enough said.
Yeah. That was live, man.
It actually was recorded. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's live, man. That's fire.
So, talking about cultural appropriation, what spurred this whole on was, Alex, you were talking about Iggy Azalea,
Yes.
right? And how she's this white girl rapper and stuff, and then she got targeted. So, I mean, similarly, I mean that, her style is probably a little bit different than mine, but So, what are your thoughts? I mean, am I ripping off somebody? Is she ripping off somebody? What's happening there?
Right. So I'll start off with Iggy, so it kind of gives a background for why I brought her up.
Yeah.
But she is a white female rapper, and she was really big in around 2014, 2016, but
Right.
also 2014, 2016. The conversation of race and cultural appropriation in music was becoming really big, and she was essentially a big target of that in a negative way.
Yeah.
So she's this white girl from Australia. She has mastered a black scent. And so people were really angry at her, saying that you're just using black culture to get rich and famous. And my side, or my thoughts on that, was I loved her as a rapper. The first time I heard her, I didn't know who she was or, the color of her skin. And I just
Right.
thought, oh my gosh, the Brat is back, who's a rapper from before. But it wasn't her. And so I said, wow, this girl's really good. Who is this person? And so then I find out she's this white girl. So it was like, it's like Eminem. It's fine. Like, I don't
Right.
think of it as you stole someone's culture. I think of it as like, you're a really talented artist, and you obviously, if you didn't love black culture that much, I think if you're that talented, I don't know why you would go through the work of stealing, right? Black culture if you weren't actually celebrating it and you didn't love it. So that also comes from me growing up. I'm full-blooded Hispanic, or I should say 1/8 German, but basically I'm Hispanic, I'm Mexican and Nicaraguan. But I grew up in predominantly white suburb area, and I remember seeing the black kids at school thinking, I wish I was black. Like, they have the best style, they have the best words. Like, nobody's this cool.
So you're a kid growing up, mostly in a white neighborhood, but the black people that you saw at school, you thought they were cooler.
Oh yeah.
You wanted to be like them.
Oh yeah.
Etc.
Yes.
Okay. And so what did you do? I mean, obviously, you don't have I
didn't do the cornrows. I didn't go as far as Iggy Azalea, but
I'm saying you didn't have the PC, political correctness police telling you this is the bad idea.
No,
you're not allowed to try to be like black people.
She figured out a way to get all about that bass.
Yeah, I think it was the opposite, because we had stores that sold a lot of like what we would think were black culture brands, and we just bought it up and we wore them. So Jay-Z at the time had the brand Rockaware.
Okay.
Oh, we just tried so hard to be cool.
You buy FUBU.
Yeah, not FUBU. I think it was too black. We're not allowed.
Oh, that's right. FUBU was too black.
At least that was like my feel, is that no, you're going too far.
Right. Interesting.
But Rockaware, Mark Echo, those were just brands that we, Baby Fat, those were all brands by black business owners, but a lot of music artists or designers. And so, yeah, I just was like, love this culture and music culture as well, because if I love rap music, I'm always hearing threads of black culture, right?
Right.
Through music. So I always had this very positive positive idea about Black culture or like Black music culture. It was just it was like a beautiful, amazing, inspiring thing. And so when people came for Iggy Azalea, I was sad and kind of like confused. Like, why can't we just understand that this is a celebration and an appreciation of Black culture? If you're inspired by this, why can't you make art about it?
Right. Interesting.
And coming as an artist, that's my background. All art is basically appropriation in some way because you were inspired by something and you filtered it through yourself. Yeah,
it's true. So that's kind of your thoughts of Iggy Azalea was, hey, she's probably celebrating. What's wrong with that? And then when you hear this, we don't need another human revolution. What are those the same similar thoughts that go through your head, or is this like sound different, a little bit different?
When I heard this, my main reaction was that it reminded me of Jesse Itzler, who is a big entrepreneur, very prominent on social media. And he started out writing rap jingles.
Interesting.
For, I think, sports, but he's this white guy. Yeah. And so I would never, when he tells his story and he said, this is how he started out making money, I'm like, what? You? Like this, I wouldn't just put this together that you, ultra runner, entrepreneur, started off making rap music. Right. Didn't know. Right. Wouldn't assume that. So that's actually what it reminded me of. But at the same time, that's still like appreciating something. And baby, I think as an artist, art is communication. So whatever sound, visual, whatever it is you're creating that communicates the message, whatever the best form of communication is, that's what you should make.
There you go.
Nothing objective about that. The best form of communication.
Yeah, right? Well,
like whatever can translate what you're saying best.
Sure. Yeah, if I think about it, when I thought about this piece, that it seemed to work. It seemed to make sense. Like I wrote out, the piece, my reaction to Psalm 72. And actually I first wrote it and then I came back to it because I was like, the first piece I wrote, it's too long. It doesn't have like a form that people are going to understand. And I need some better, more concrete visuals in here, some imagery that's not kind of following is directly from Psalm 72. And so I started off with, the first thing that popped in my head was, I think right at that time there was a shooting. I think it was a Ferguson shooting, and I'd been writing about it anyway. And so I wrote down, when police shoot a man for the color of his skin, when rage shoots back and evil wins. Well, you put that together, just that line, the meter of that line feels like it needs a beat to go along with it. And I can't deliver it. I don't have as you said, Iggy Azalea had a black scent. I didn't even know that was a term. That's funny. But like, I don't have that. I can't, maybe I could, but I don't want to. Like, I just want to be myself. And I think that's, even going and hanging out, Rashi, I mean, you can say this, like, my wife sometimes tells me, like, when I talk to you on the phone, Rashi, that I sound different than whenever I'm like just talking to her, and I'm like, well, yeah, I'm probably influenced by Rashi and us a bit, right? And so maybe I connect, but I don't know. It's just like I don't want to change. I don't want to lose who I am and try to pretend that I grew up as something that I didn't or something, and yet at the same time, like, it's not like I'm making any money from this. I think that's maybe where the contention comes in, is when suddenly Iggy Azalea becomes popular and she's making all sorts of money, and people are like, well, you're just using Black culture to make all this money for you and all this stuff. I don't know. I mean, I hesitate. I don't want to just say, Rashi, what do you think? Because you're Black, do you have some idea on what do you think about this topic? But at the same time, well, you're Black. Rashi, what do you think? It's the elephant.
You talking about whatever, like talking about for like when you change your voice up, or just what about the girl you say making money off, so-called making money off the community? Like, what topic you talking about?
Well, yeah, because like Iggy Azalea, she's this white girl who's wearing, braiding her hair, right, wearing cornrows and sounding like, she actually went so far as to sound like she's black, right? She's got,
people would say,
she sounded like she's black. She's rapping, she's pulling beats in and stuff. And so there's that extreme. And then there's the other parts of, say like Justin Timberlake, who gets a lot of sound, grabs a lot of sound from the black community. And then maybe he would honor the black community, but he kind of sounds like the black community. Then there's me, who I'm just like, well, this sound sort of works for We Don't Need Another Human Revolution, but I'm not trying to sound like you can tell that I think you could probably tell like I'm some white guy. Although your mom, when she heard me sing, she thought I was Soul Brother #1. She didn't think I was white, and I didn't. I was just singing, right. So I don't know what are your thoughts like, on all that, right? Because I mean, you write and perform.
I feel we living in a capitalistic country, man. So that you gotta capitalize. So if it's entertainment and you can make money off of it, make money off of it. That's how I feel personally. Like if you can make money off of it, if I was a good country western singer, if I could sing rock and roll real good, and people said, "Damn, he sounds just like Guns N' Roses." If I can make billions of dollars off of it, I dress up like I'm gonna say now, not going to the point where I dress up like a female and putting on a dress. That's different. That's not entertainment. That's selling your soul.
Maybe.
I'm talking about for like, cause you got white, you got black people that do, how can I say it, like opera and stuff like that. So,
right. That's right.
And they come from white, that's white. So I feel if you can do it and make money off of it, make money off of it. I'm not like real caught up on like robbing the community and, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we got to take, like we was talking about earlier, we got to take the color up off of it and just say we all humans.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But we all human beings. And I know the world don't look at it like that.
Sure.
But I think that's how we got to think. I don't have a problem with it though.
Well, shoot. I mean, Ray Charles made a country album. Darius Rucker, is pretty well known.
I mean, you let what influences you come out. I mean, it's obvious what influences you that comes out. I mean, even in the music that I put behind that thing, that there's a prominent blues scale motif, minor blues motif that starts out because it seems to get attention. I mean, I just felt like it seemed to fit it. It gets attention. I mean, we're not trying to just get attention, but we're getting attention in order to bring
a message.
That's right. And it doesn't end there. There's then I bring in the Western scale that changes the minor to major, but it doesn't leave some of the blues scale behind. That it's still there towards the end, providing color and power to the resolution of possibly the minor scale. I mean, right. So all that stuff is in there, used for the purpose. I mean, it was. I would say it was not intentional, almost. Yeah. It just was like it should sound like this, and then they should go there, and that just sounds good, and boom, that even sounds better, and it's inspiring while it's happening. While I'm putting it in. That wasn't performed live. It was typed in on a computer.
So let's push this to another level. All right. Okay, so Iggy Azalea goes to the point where she's got cornrows. She's got a 64 Impala. She sounds like she's black. She's got rap. Well, some people, right, would take it to painting their face black, right?
Like minstrelsy?
Face. And then people took it to the point there is a history of minstrelsy, right? Where people were actually taking black music, making up, like doing a Weird Al Yankovic thing to the lyrics. We're taking the same music, changing the lyrics, and making fun of black culture, right? That is in our history, and painting blackface on and
Yeah.
basically making fun of black culture. So there's that history too. And
It
I
was
wonder if,
it was parodying it. There was a lot of like, we can say stuff in this genre that we wouldn't be able to say if outside of the genre. And so it definitely was parody and making fun, but at the same time, they were trying. There was some like wisdom that was being thrown in there that
Right.
couldn't have been come from supposedly at that time any other direction. Now, I mean, it was not good. It was not good.
Right.
But the awareness of it not being good was less seemingly than it is now, or they were just burying it. But there were wisdom in comedy. There was wisdom in comedy being tried to be brought in through this genre and speaking to society that was trying to be used at this time. Now, there were prominent people that were in the genre that had revelation that this is not good and got out of it.
right.
Got it.
What period of time was this?
Well, minstrelsy is predates the Civil War. I mean, it springs up in the early 1800s as you know, roving shows and stuff like that. And it's not, you know, people talk today. There's like in church and out of church kind of music culture, but then there was a little bit more mixed. Way back there wasn't this as much of a separation, but this is definitely this is not something that happened in the church.
So you're talking
The
about
minstrelsy was like people in the church shunned it, right?
oh, okay.
So as far as music goes,
But they were using they were
Society.
using what spirituals, slave spirituals.
oh yeah,
So they would like. Can you give us some examples of some slave spirituals? And Dave is just so you guys know out there that are listening or watching, Dave has been researching kind of the history of the music of the church, especially gospel music, slave spirituals, for about the last 10 years or so.
not 10, 4 or 5.
4 or 5 years, and getting into it really deep. I mean, he's got like, I don't know how many old records that you have of people, but of all the people that I know, I don't know anybody who has acquired as much information about this stuff as Dave has. And I'm sure there are professors out there. Dave probably could get a degree already, but he's just kind of, you know, doing it on the side, doing it on the slide because he's got passion in it. So you're saying that they would use these. Can you give us some examples of some slave spirituals that they might turn into something?
Well, okay.
In minstrelsy,
it gets into it gets into the weeds. It's hard to pinpoint the actual spirituals because the thing about spirituals is they all got mixed in together with each other anyway.
Okay,
Right. Little parts of this happen, parts of that, because it all happened under the radar. I mean, you have in the Southeast United States, right, before the Civil War, you got slave culture, and we've got this group of people that are forbidden to gather, and forbidden to assemble and do anything because especially larger plantations would think that only sedition would come from that, so in order to get, so prohibited from gathering, prohibited from playing instruments, and yet what would happen anyways is that slaves converted and had experiences with God and converted to Christianity, worship would happen in a way that they could do it while working, and they would be able to transmit and even preach while working to each other. And this music, these styles, traveled like wildfire across the slave states,
right?
And created culture that was under the radar, and actually nobody really studied it. There was a fascination for it, but no one studied it. No, I mean, people weren't allowed to study it until the 1860s. I think there was a guy that I forgot his name, but he actually went and toured the South and tried to write down as many slave spirituals as he could. And this was right before the Civil War.
Yeah.
And I mean, his book, I think, came out right after the Civil War. Now, again, and then what ended up happening is really nice people from churches established freedmen's universities. The first one, I think, being Fisk University,
Fisk University, yeah.
in Nashville, Tennessee. And and there were a bunch of other ones that popped up as well. And the Fisk University, in order to raise money for their university, there was a music directors that got that put quartets together, put singing groups together, called the Fisk University Jubilee Singers, and that was the first nationally touring, money-making music group from Nashville, Tennessee. And then, in fact, their first tour, and these are the goodness of this history is awesome. In being that, so they got together 1871. Wow. Fisk University became a university in 1867. 1871 is when the Jubilee Singers got together. In their first tour, they made all of, it's more of that back then, but they made all about $50 at the end of their tour. And what they ended up doing is donating all of it to help reconstruct Chicago, because there was the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. I mean, it was a huge national emergency.
Wow. And
all the proceeds from their tour, which were supposed to help give, finance their college, they gave to the victims of the 1871 fire. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Now, incredible. They didn't immediately start trying to spirituals, this genre of music. By the time of the Civil War, by the time of the end of the Civil War, had become so associated with freedom from slavery that by the time slavery was ended after the end of the Civil War, spirituals kind of went into a little bit of a dormancy, is what I've read. And so these colleges resurrected spirituals. They didn't at first start singing spirituals, but the 2 or 3 that they did, and they did them in a very classical way, very prettified classical way, not necessarily like what you would have heard if you had found out some gathering in the forest during
slavery period.
Slavery plantation times. But the 2 or 3 that they ended up doing were so popular, got to be so popular, people wanted them, that the Fisk Jubilee Singers ended up developing a whole program full of them. And this happened like within a few years. I mean, there's no internet, there's no radio, there's no hardly any mass communication, and it really popped up like wildfire. And a bunch of other colleges started doing it too, but then also money started getting involved, and people started copying the style of these spirituals, and then that's how spirituals became known all over the United States at first.
So we're going to stop it right there. It's such an important conversation and such an important topic that we didn't want to cut too much of it, so we turned it into 2 episodes. So tune in to us next week, where you can hear more on the Nevcast. Until then, check us out, nevcast.com. Go listen on Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, or listen on Spotify. And we'll continue part 2 next time on talking about cultural appropriation with music and justice. And man, it's all here on the Nevcast. Okay, talk to you soon. That's it for the Nevcast this time. Join us next week when we talk justice, business, and art in pursuit of Jesus. We will see you soon.